Hello everybody, I am Christopher Purrett and this is Leah and Kira, my two daughters. And tonight we're going to read the first chapter of the upcoming novel, The Gossamer Pen, in which the two girls here are actually the main characters. And so we're going to start off with chapter 1 tonight. It was late June and very hot in Greenville. The air felt moist and heavy. A few raindrops landed on the warm cement. Storm clouds had lazily moved into the small town. Two sisters, Leah and Kira, were walking through Greenville's old downtown street on their way home when the clouds let loose. Leah was the oldest and quite precocious. She dashed into the closest store to avoid getting wet. Her impish little sister, Kira, defiantly stood in the rain just to make her sister mad.
Kira, get in here. You'll get soaked.
Leah mothered. A bell rang when she pushed the door open, startling her. Leah was tall and thin, with long, thick red hair.
So?
Kira simply replied, with a large grin on her face, and her purple shirt with a pink and green owl, already damp at the shoulders. The water didn't bother Kira, but the wet shirt certainly would later. For now, it was worth the discomfort to annoy her sister. Leah knew she would get in trouble if Kira came home drenched. As the oldest, Leah was responsible while they were out to play. Reacting quickly, Leah dashed out into the rain and snatched Kira's thin wrist, yanking her through the door. Kira was barely half her sister's size. She was very thin, with shoulder-length, straight auburn-colored hair. Once inside, the two bickered briefly, just as the storm outside intensified. A bolt of lightning flashed in the street. Kira jumped into Leah's arms. Thunder rattled the window. The two realized that they weren't going anywhere anytime soon.
You're such a brat, Kira.
Leah whined as she dropped her little sister from her arms. Kira didn't respond to her sister's complaint as she landed cat-like on her feet, but instead began to examine a row of music boxes on the table at her side.
What is this place?
Kira wondered aloud.
We've never been in here before.
Monica's Antiques.
Leah read the window sign.
I think Mom took us here once.
Well, I don't remember.
Kira replied in a sassy voice. She usually spoke that way to her sister, especially when Leah was using the mother voice. Kira hated that. Just because Mom isn't here doesn't make you the boss of me, Kira thought. When in reality, it did. Her mom had deemed it so. The girls began to wander around the store, looking at a variety of antiques. Brightly polished bicycles hung from the ceiling off big red hooks. Light fixtures of a variety of sizes and shapes shone brightly. Dinnerware was displayed in glass cases. Kira walked in the opposite direction from her sister toward a small room. Toys lined its back walls. The antique store was an old converted home that had become part of the city 20 years ago when Greenville's downtown area expanded. She passed through the archway, which had clocks on either side. The first clock was round and fancy looking with letters in the place of numbers. What does VI mean? Kira examined the strange clock. It looked like nothing like the ones at her house. The other clock was a frog's face, with its mouth wide open, and the clock inside. The small room, probably once a den in the old home, was dark, with only a single bulb in the light fixture above Kira's head. Why don't they put the lamps in here, Kira wondered. She felt taller in this room, as the ceiling was far shorter than any room in the shop. Kira sneezed.
Holy moly!
She yelped afterwards.
It's so dirty in here. Gross.
She said as dust floated around her up toward the light.
Don't touch anything.
Leah scolded.
These are antiques.
The two were on their way from the park when the storm surprised them, forcing them into the shop for shelter. Leah was extremely uncomfortable in this place. She wished she had picked the ice cream shop 3 doors down instead. Now she would be tortured every minute until the rain let up, wondering if her little sister would break something fragile.
I didn't.
Kira barked back as she stopped her hand directly over a small crystal kitten.
What does antique mean anyway?
It means that these items are very old.
A woman's voice startled them both. Kira's hand bumped the crystal kitten, knocking it over. It's okay, she shouted, eyes wide with fear. Leah's heart pounded. The shop owner had emerged from the back room, probably a kitchen, with a cup of lemonade in her hand. Can I help you girls with anything? The shop owner politely asked.
No, thank you. We just came in to avoid the storm.
Leah replied kindly.
It's really dirty in here.
Kira bluntly stated as she continued her attempt to make the crystal kitten stand upright. Her tongue stuck out and a crease formed between her eyes while she concentrated. The shop owner, Mrs. Monica Verbeek's eyes widened and her mouth dropped open in shock. Leah slapped Kira on the shoulder.
Be quiet.
Hey, don't hit me. I'll drop the kitten again.
Kira shouted. Leah's cheeks turned a slight shade of red from embarrassment. Forcing a smile, she apologized for her sister and turned her attention to the table of artifacts, hoping Mrs. Verbeek would forgive Kira's attitude.
You're so embarrassing.
Leah mumbled.
You're not my mother.
Kira barked back, not attempting to conceal her voice as she put the kitten back upright again.
The rain had better stop soon because I can't stay in here much longer with you.
Well, sissy, you dragged me in here.
Kira reminded her. She reached out to touch another crystal animal, farther back when she bumped into the table leg. Leah gasped as the crystal figure shuddered on the old piece of furniture.
Stop touching things.
Leah demanded, under her breath in an attempt to not draw Mrs. Verbeek's attention.
Come on, let's go before you break something.
When the girls turned to leave, Leah's foot nudged the table. A few of the crystal kittens toppled over. Leah cringed. Kira giggled.
What? That's funny.
Kira replied when Leah shot her a disapproving glare.
You just get yelled at me for the same thing.
Kira pointed out with a huge grin on her face. Leah searched the table to see if anything was broken. She was relieved to notice nothing was damaged and only had to pick up the same kitten and a couple of colorful foxes. When she turned back around, Kira was gone. Her heart dropped into her stomach.
Kira?
She called out in a panic.
I'm under the table.
What?
I thought I heard something fall.
Kira's muffled voice replied, but only her butt and legs were visible to Leah.
Please get out from under there.